Today's self-love club meeting is about creating conversation about who you are on the other side. So, what other side of whatever relative walk that you've been on, who you are today, and especially if you want to unpack or share with us how you're doing, if you want to talk about what's going on, we would love to hear. So, what are your thoughts, expressions around what it feels like to be on the other side? But prior to us unpacking that, may I just ask, how are we today? Would anyone like to discuss how you're feeling?
I can go. We spoke a little bit in the tarot class. I'm feeling a little vulnerable today, a little soft. Did a lot of releasing. And so, as I was sharing earlier, I took a play from your book and got some flowers to do some like self-love, self-care rituals today.
That's good. Feeling vulnerable. Anyone, what is the vibe? What is the topic? Around what?
Frozen. Well, for me, it's love, of course. So it's like having a dynamic that was in my vicinity and I don't know, it's a lot of push and pull. I think it was a twin flame connection because it doesn't make sense any other way, the way it's been moving. And so I finally decided to say, you know what, this is fine. I'm gonna put myself first. I want a lover that I can be completely aligned with, that don't have to keep pouring my cup into continuously without it being reciprocal. And so that's where I'm at right now, having to make a big girl decision.
So it's been like a back and forth.
Um, yeah, it's been like there's a lot of highs, but then there's also lows, and then realizing like where the lows are coming from because I'm a very empathetic, I'm a very maternal person, and I give very easily. And like having to realize, okay, I'm giving way too much to this person more than I'm getting back. And, the allures of grandeur, it's like, well, I know I can get that from my future partner. So me staying just for this one thing that I know I can provide for myself, but I can get it with a more aligned person that we're both wanting to mutually grow. And I'm really serious about my spirituality, and he's not very spiritual. And so, just those decisions.
What would you say? Yeah, snap, snap. Sorry. What was his utility in your life? Or what was the attraction initially?
This is something that I've been having this conversation with like my spirit team and myself because in a sense it's like the recycled person just keeps coming back to me, and it's like a certain lifestyle that I'm like this isn't associated with me my person, but it's a lifestyle that I've always kind of been around in a sense because we're so completely different. And so I think in this instance, it was very much an immediate attraction of like, oh, Sare, you used to like this type of person, but that's not who you are anymore. And that's not who you want to be as you move forward. And so it was a lot of like healing my inner teenager because that like it was a very youthful connection where we both brought out like a lot of childlike selves within each other. And I'm also an adult, like, you know what I mean? It's like we both want to, I would want a partner that wants to grow simultaneously and doesn't view like competition. And so is just a lot of little flags that were starting to show up. And I'm like, okay, if this is happening right now, I don't want to imagine what it would be like later.
That's fair. Does anyone have any reflections for Sari on that topic?
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Asteria. You and I were talking about this a little bit. You're very sweet and kind.
Yeah, I like your explanation of it of like you got to play with your inner teenager a little bit, but you're like, that's not even who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And it's good that she got a chance to express herself because it seems like in your situation that just ended like with your divorce, that maybe she didn't get a big chance to express herself in that relationship. So it's nice that she got a little bit of expression and that now you can incorporate that playfulness into something that's more grounded in who you are now. And I'm just so proud of you for, yeah, choosing yourself. And it's inspirational as always.
I'm very much a trial by fire type of gal, I'm realizing.
Which is, yeah, oh God, me too. I feel like, you know, not to speak negatively over myself, but I definitely do feel like I learned the hard way.
Yeah. And then Spirit's like, are you done? Did you get it
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I'm grateful that you've made space in your life for something for you, and, you know, potentially something more exciting, more romantic. And yeah, the whole idea of you pouring into him and he's not doing that back is like, it's good that you can recognize that now, like you said so early. And I'm excited for someone to pour into you eventually, starting with you, you know?
Yeah.
What makes it sad, would you say?
For me, what makes it sad? It's like, you know, when there's a kid at the candy store and they're like, but I want that. And it's like, well, you can't have that because it's not good for you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so it's very much like, well, kind of like what you were saying, that everybody holds a little parts of us in them. And so seeing that part of self that was in that connection, and I guess it's this battle between want and need. You know, like we can want a lot of things. It doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you. You know what I mean? And so it's going into the needs and the desires and, you know, realizing that those attributes that I like from that person isn't going to die with that person. I can find it because it exists within me. It exists with other people as well that are a little bit more aligned.
I love that. Welcome in, Will. What's going on, family? Hello.
Hello.
So we're just discussing, we're kind of like checking in with each individual, seeing how we're feeling, and then reflecting on each other's feelings, supporting each other. And then on the other side of this debriefing, we're going to be speaking about creating a creative project to share. So kind of like a poetry slam for next Sunday. But right now, we just want to check in with everybody's hearts. So thank you, Sari. That was good. So if I can say like, all right, so that's, that's where we are. What would you say is sort of like the next step for you?
Continue to pour within me because I realize that I'm an all-in type of person, and so I really have to like use my discernment a lot because when I care about somebody, I'm very nurturing and I'm very empathetic and I lead with my heart. And even though I'm a very logical person in real life, and so I'm just excited to complete some projects that I have been having on my table that I kind of put down because of this. And it's like, well, Sarai, this is why we can't be doing those types of things. You know what I mean? So focusing within.
Okay. I'm so excited for any poetry or any creative works coming from this because what I'm understanding is that you're getting your voice back and not so, not so many analytical expressions. So it's just looking like big feelings nowadays, maybe.
Yeah, big feelings. Yesterday was a lot of that. And so, like, when you're an artist, you're a hopeless romantic. And it's like, oh, I freaking love this freaking towel that I found. Like, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, there's definitely going to be work coming out of it. We're very much muses. So,
I love that. Will, you got anything you want to share with us? I know that you're an artist as well.
Um, yeah, I feel you on the artists are hopeless romantics and letting not just one person, but the world and yourself being your muse. I have found that when I'm in a romantic relationship with someone, I also go all in and sometimes have a tendency to get tunnel vision to an unhealthy degree. So I'm learning that. Um, but Yeah, I've been trying to do more artistry, but not just art as in poetry, but art as in food. Creating art spaces to live in for myself. Like I just finished, I've always wanted a canopy bed. So I bought one and painted it gold, and I'm in the process of trying to figure out how to sew together. I bought like this fake crushed velvet that I want to put over it, but I don't have a sewing machine, and I've heard that sewing by hand is really fucking hard. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to put that together.
Sewing by hand is not. Sewing by
Okay.
hand is easy. I feel like it's easier, especially if you're just doing like a big blanket. I believe in you. You can do it. And I'm so stoked for the velvet. Oh my God. That was so much.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll definitely look up some tutorials and everything then. Um, but yeah, trying to make art out of everything that's around me. I don't know. I think life is supposed to be beautiful. So making beauty out of everything and surrounding myself by beauty.
What are some expressions of beauty for you? Is it, can you share with us?
Yeah. Um, well, something that I've learned the last year is that I have a tendency to. Let me run this back. I was talking with a coworker, and she was trying to get to know me more, and she asked what my lore was, and I like shared some of my like life, and so she shared some of hers, and it made me realize that I think that we have a tendency to use pain or traumas as like touch points for like sharing our lives as if they're the most important foundational things that have happened to us. And I don't want my life to just be like these touch points of pain, because you can learn as much from joy, like the things that make you happy. So for me, creating beauty is finding that joy and bringing it into the everyday, even if it's walking around and like creating a little poem or ditty for myself talking about how beautiful the tree is or how beautiful the stars are or how beautiful the sunlight is, or like behind me I have this like little, I don't know what to call it, collage question mark that I've been putting together since I started living alone in this apartment. um yeah, just trying to see the different things that can be art and kind of pushing the limits of what that is, I guess. I don't know, I used to cook for a while, and I stopped for a little bit because I have an odd relationship with food. So I'm trying to cook more and find artistry in that and mixing different flavors. um yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We're all clever. I love how Will was referencing that my story is not all made out of fuck ups and, failures. That is actually so beautiful to us, especially in this conversation that we're referencing today, which is why we're here, you know what I mean? Which is on the other side, the life on the other side of trauma and
Deal with
pain.
having all of your dreams crushed by smushing your feelings.
And kind of like, well, what is beautiful? The darkness absolutely is beautiful, but also the lightness and maybe the things that we've become as a result of the darkness, that is also beautiful. I really love that, Will.
I just wanted to say that was so beautiful, Will. I agree with what Hero was saying about pain being like touch points to tell our story. Oh my gosh, that blew my mind because I do that too. Like, frame myself in context to what happened or like what I've survived or and there is so much more than that. So thank you for the inspiration, and I'm really happy that you're like playing with your relationship to food. And yeah, I just think that infusing beauty into your life is such a beautiful, it's almost like self-worship, right? Yeah, it's like I am the deity in my own life. And I do feel like our spirits have a relationship like that for our body and for our existence. Because you just talked about before, it's like we're the ones that are in the physical body. Like all the other spirits want to be this, right? So it's like you're creating a space of worship for yourself. And I'm just so inspired by that. So thank you for sharing.
Appreciate you, Sarah. Thank you so, so much for your kind words. That really calmed my nerves down a lot. Thank you. And I love you too.
Amazing. I love to open up the floor, considering that there's such a collection of powerful individual identities in womanhood. Can we share our expressions of what is feminine energy?
Well,
How how can we travel towards it more in a relative way? What does it look like for a woman to discover her feminine energy?
I feel like for me, um, being understanding my feminine energy is just learning how to receive, like just to rest, just to slow down, just to calm down, like, and just allow it to happen. It will come into fruition, just trusting in that receiving mode. Like what you put out there is what you'll get back. So why would you expect anything different? You know? Um, but it's a reconditioning that and that's another thing, you know, if I want to be a wife, I need to know and to let a man take the lead. And even if, you know, we'll have communication and everything, he'll value my opinion and like I'll value his, but if I'm always go, 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 you need to do this, you need to do that, he gonna get tired of my ass. Like, what, girl, let me take the wheel for a second. And I'll be like, all right, you're right. Like I gotta let that go. So for me it's just relaxing and then trusting that the divine is leading me to what I put out there.
When we look at this conversation of welcoming back feminine energy, we really look at what has always been there and then maybe what has been inviting us to have more of an austere survive or like fight or flight response. And so when we look at this idea that peace is your portion, but we've just been encouraged to always come up with the answers to survive. And I guess the thing that we're really trusting is that we will survive this and that the answers come in us through inspiration of how we are feeling. And the more that you lean into how you want to feel, it actually navigates you towards the next solution. And I'm only basically summarizing what you are showing. So if we say, oh, damn, I don't know what I want, what's happening next in life, but I know that I'm interested in becoming a wife. I'm looking at learning myself or my emotions. We can see she didn't really make any decisions. She leaned into how she was feeling. The feeling basically overwhelmed her, forced her into community, forced her into transparency. And this is the identity that is encouraging her goal, which is partnership and love. Look at how wonderfully aligned you are, Mo. And as a man, it would be a miss for me to not comment on partnerships relating to husbandry and, wife conversations. What I will say is you are still in control. There's never a moment where you will have to let the man take the lead. It'll always be a time where you are basically leading him on how to lead, instructing him on when and where to lead. Allowing is a form of leadership. Wouldn't y'all agree?
Mm-hmm.
Right, he's the head on
Allowing.
the neck.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I
Wait,
think
what
for
happened?
me, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, T. Sorry.
No, I was thinking this is interesting because for me, um, when you spoke about what femininity means, I immediately got the image of the archetypes between, the maiden and the mother, the crone. And I started to immediately kind of sense that We are so many things at different points in our life. But for me, embracing the moment is something that I will always cherish.
Thank you, Monique, and thank you, Will, for creating synergy in this conversation and providing topics for us to really see ourselves through. I'm proud of you, Mo. Good job.
I'll crash
Welcome
out
in,
anytime
Christine.
with y'all.
Yeah, come in and crash out. And we got airbags. We crash dummies around here. JK, JK. Hello, Sea Float. How are you today?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Nice. I was just working in my art studio. Hi, everyone. I've just recently gone through a bunch of stuff, and my family that is still in, in a positive way with me is all over the United States. So I am very much navigating this entire awakening experience entirely on my own. I only have a handful of friends that really even understand what is going on. And for the most part, the people in my circle are not interested. I'm finding out they're very, very low vibrational. So this whole thing has just been a whiplash because I've had to find it out in reverse. I wasn't necessarily very spiritual beforehand. So I'm hanging on for my dear life. And that's why I just really resonate with everyone's struggles, man. You don't see past the surface. And I am just an expert on always being cheerful and putting on a good face because as an empath and an intuitive one, I can feel their sadness from a mile away and I hate it. So I have to work on keeping my energy separate from the rest of the volatile energy going on because I already have enough issues to work through to be stable in this body so that I could even offer something of value if and when the time came.
Mhm.
So it's important for me to do the work. I don't have any reference for it. So I ask a lot of dumb questions and it's been very humbling. I'm still knowing that it's valuable and it's just what the universe and God is just aligned for me and it all makes sense. It's just not easy.
Yeah.
And when I don't have anybody to support me except for imaginary online friends, oh, I can't think about it too much. Otherwise, it makes me sad. And I don't like to be sad. So um, I just like listening to other people. It makes me feel connected still when my family basically has not deserted me. They're just busy, too busy for life, if that makes sense. And I'm not married and I have no kids. And I am without being dramatic, just the true fact is I'm the product of very narcissistic, controlling, abusive parental relationships. So, yeah. There's a reason why I've never been successful in relationships. And I was taught that I was hard to love. So I still feel that way, even though the logic brain knows that that was just said to hurt me. It's still there. So I'm working on feeling valuable too. Did I say too much? Because I just kept talking.
No. It was important for me to literally hold space for you, and you actually impacted all of us in such a really beautiful, authentic, and honest way.
Yeah, if anybody's had everything to lose in life because they are following what God and the universe is calling for them to do, it's me. I've gone all in on trusting my gut.
Yes.
And that is a power that we were never allowed to have. It is a space that we were never conditioned to prepare for, and it seems almost undeserving. And I have had hard times trying to ask why me and finding my worth in all this. And then also dealing with the anger, because upon every realization just makes me realize how much I have been held back. And that makes me angry. I probably would have had an entirely different life had I figured this out in my 20s.
Mhm.
But we can't do anything about the past yet that we're aware of, anyway. So
Yeah.
I just work with humor. I'm really lighthearted. I'm super sarcastic. I'm authentic as all get out because I have nothing to lose.
Mhm.
And I just lead with kindness. That's the beginning and the end of my whole story at this point.
Right.
Next.
I Yeah, it's it's your moment. I'm
Yeah.
grateful that you really are taking the space because if you really listen to your voice and your words, there sounds like there is, or pardon me, it's not even like you have this incredible genius, this incredible groundedness to your heart, this incredible awareness of your identity. And it just looks like all it takes is just a little safe space to speak and to be heard. So the best gift that I can really give you in this moment is applause and a mirror in safety. You're not crazy. You're not unstable or insane. What I'm understanding is that you're unpacking an identity of empathy and then kind of like balancing the anger that no one else is as empathic as I am. What the fuck? So here I am finding safe spaces and unpacking the voice. I like how you're using this phrase observe versus absorb. And I'm really interested in the collective's, I guess, idea of that phrase. But before I open up the space to the community, I'm interested, Christine, what has been your definition of successful relationships in the past? And what is your new definition of success currently?
Oh, no, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, and I don't mean this to be dramatic. I would like to find out if the definition that I have of love is, I'm not sure I know what love is. I'm worried that it's this manipulative, I don't know. It's been packaged under love, has been packaged in my life as a conditional asset. So it's used to motivate you to do the right things, but who's making that chart? And if you dare step out or irritate, I came from a military family, so you can imagine, the notes on my door was like church, oh, $600, not be ready by 6 a.m. for a fun day. You know, I grew up in Hawaii. I am a white girl, but I was the only white girl on my block, and I didn't even know that Caucasian was a white girl until I was about 6th or 7th grade. I mean, I feel like I got whiplash by life because it was so wonderful until like everything became real and people started having expectations. And I figured it out because I do have some psychic ability and I've been using it to really dive deep in so I can understand this whole thing. And what I found out by doing just some simple discernment work is that I am a perfect product of the generational curse. My grandparents were doctors, and my father was firstborn. And he went to the Air Force Academy on a football scholarship and just shine, 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 shine. He actually got accepted to Notre Dame too. And I was the firstborn, first grandchild of this famously popular family. And first time they saw me, I was 2nd grade, totally like looked like a natural Hawaiian, Native American, Native Hawaiian, Polynesian, Japanese kid, and I spoke pidgin, and my grandparents were horrified. And immediately my father was shamed, and I got through in English as a second language school. And I don't really remember life being easy after that. I spent my entire life trying to fit in, be liked, get approval. It was so important to me to be loved. I spent my life fantasizing about Prince Charming of the high school coming to get me at the football game. I just had all these fantasies, and I never was taught to like how to tie in like reality versus, certainly was never taught that I was in control of anything that I wanted. I was taught to pray and hope. And if you weren't chosen, that was because you've done something wrong.
I hear that. I'm proud that you're able to identify narcissistic culture in generational curses, especially in racial programming or cultural expectations of the women in your culture.
Uh-huh.
I would say that women are expected to progress culture. Actually, it's obvious. The woman teaches the children what's expected of the programming. She organizes the home and creates conversation about next steps. And so, what I'm applauding you for is kind of like navigating outside of any sort of narcissistic programming that is kind of like trying to leave the individual and all of the individual aspects of your spirit behind. And I just want to organize the conversation that you basically are toppling generational curses and narcissism all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I got to show you how much discernment's done for me, which is literally locking yourself in your favorite space in your house, quiet with your candlelight and your thoughts, and trusting yourself that you're gonna come up with your own answers because I had no other resource. I had nobody else.
I would love to open this conversation up for additional voices.
Thank
Asteria, can
you.
you? You're welcome, Christine. Thank you. Asteria, can you share with us some insight on this topic, or what have you experienced when it comes to breaking generational curses, or perhaps identifying narcissism within culture and having to go against those things?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. This is like the whole thing that I am thinking about all the time. But okay, so I'm just gonna go with what was kind of coming up before she even started talking because I think it's relevant. So my step grandma passed, and what everyone was expressing that they, loved about her was her selflessness. And I'm like, wow, how interesting. The thing that she celebrated for was a lack of self.
Boy,
Like, isn't that so intense? And that is, what the culture for that is what the culture is, at least in my family, is like complete self-abandonment of the person to fulfill everyone else's needs around you. And so, the culture of narcissism and of whiteness um, is so violent towards femininity, and that's why it's so violent towards the world. But yeah, you're basically, you know, my real grandma too, she got Alzheimer's. So it's just this kind of repetitive pattern that I see within myself too, of just complete self-abandonment. There's like no person almost inside of, well, you know how I am with my like emotions here, Hiru. I feel like I have an interesting relationship with my emotions because I feel everything all the time, but that's not an expression of Kaylee. That's an expression of me taking everything in all the time and then applying myself to um, whatever is being needed. So I would say that my form of coming into my femininity would be would be, oh, well, if we look at what in culture and what in society is about femininity is suppressed, it's passion, it's desire, it's the voice, it's action, it's our autonomy. All of these things are suppressed within the women. It's the right to choice. Um, so my version of coming into my feminine energy would be to experience passion, to experience control over my body, to experience my voice, to self-express, to be in my body. And yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but I think that it's really important. Yes, it's really important for women to be able to receive because we're not what Flo was saying is that love is not, or love under capitalism is a tool of manipulation. So of course there is that aspect of leaning into the feminine energy is learning how to receive, but it's like learning how to receive ourselves, learning how to um, yeah, yeah, self-agency, I think is my other side.
I love how you're mentioning love under capitalism, reflecting what Tiflo mentioned is manipulation. So I want to ask you in this moment, how do you feel speaking in a group?
How do I feel in this moment? I feel
Yeah.
grateful. I just feel so grateful, really. Yeah. I I don't know if it was last year or when it was, but I don't know if I was like manic or something, but I came to all these conclusions that I thought was the answer for, which was basically just further into my disassociation. Basically, I was like, oh, the answer is further away. Like the answer is up here. This is where yeah.
Love it.
Oh my God. And so I was like, I was questioning and I was like, I don't even think I'm supposed to come back to my body in this lifetime. I really don't. I
Do
think
we
that,
have to?
right. I was like, I think that the way that I'm supposed to live is completely outside of my body.
Oh, I'm
Like,
pissed off. I'm pissed
yeah,
off. I'm 46 and just getting it now. Like fucking
right.
20 years back, God damn it.
So I asked that question to the universe. The universe answers me in such a silly way all the time. But I asked that question, and then all of a sudden, I'm a moderator in your lives. And
Do we
you
have to do
teach,
this awakening every lifetime though? That's a legitimate question I have.
you teach us about how to come back to our bodies. And so it's just been really, yeah, it's been really interesting and so the universe answered me, it's like, yeah, you're going to and you can and you will in due time.
Like I always say,
But
yeah, in due time.
but thank you. Yeah, I know I do talk really slow and it is something that I am a
Get
little
the
bit
universe to
self-conscious
There's
about,
nothing
but
wrong with that, Asteria.
okay, thank
Nothing.
you.
Most people talk too fast. You read, understand every single word. And like her said, you are so intelligent. Oh my gosh. Like the way you articulate yourself is wow. Chef's kiss. Amazing.
Thank you, Mo. Half the
Of
time
course.
I can't even tell if I'm saying anything left from right, up or down, but so that means a lot because I love your intelligence so much. So I'm glad it's landing somewhere and
I
on the earth.
appreciate you so much.
I love you.
I love you too.
It absolutely is. I would love to welcome in Catherine. Before I do, Will, did you have anything that you wanted to say? I saw that you were enthusiastic.
Yeah, I was just really vibing and agree with a lot of what she was saying. And I thought the first thing that came to mind when she said self-agency was that I see that as a union between the masculine and the feminine. And like completely being in alignment with both of those things, because I see masculine and feminine as being and doing. And so self-agency is that doing within your being. And so I thought that was absolutely beautiful.
Go ahead. Mic drop, Will. This I love, and Spirit has been encouraging the same conversation within me. Like the collective is awakening from their awakenings. So kind of like integrating a more, let's say, comfortable and personal relative human experience, coming back to whatever your humanity is.
Does anybody
Beautiful,
else
Kat.
feel like this is happening every week?
I just want it to stop.
Like really, like
That
last week was
man.
crazy, the week before that, the week before that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I've
it's crunch
had
time.
enough epiphanies. I've seen into enough deep souls. I found out enough dirt on my family. We good, okay? I only got so much on this planet. Now it's time for me.
Yes,
So
right.
thank you, God, for the awakening. Now, what are we gonna fucking do with it? That's what I want to know. Otherwise, it's just a fucking waste of my time.
We're gonna
That's
And
my,
build new
energy.
worlds.
that's where I'm at.
We're gonna scream and shout. We're gonna record content. We're
Well,
gonna
come
put this.
on. It really messed with my life only because it changed everything. And it happened, it was spontaneous. I didn't look for it.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about the opportunity to get like almost went there, but I pulled myself out because I've had to my whole life. So you know what? These hurdles provided me some sort of strength that kept my head above water. But I keep telling God, man, if this is not because I'm like not the next Gandhi or some shit like that, then I don't even know what this is for. Because if this was my higher self's idea of a good time and we're here for vacation, my higher self can go fuck itself, okay? And I will tell that to it.
I know
To
that's
its
Yeah.
right. I
face.
better end up on a fucking corner by the time I'm done with this lifetime.
Well, I mean, I've done the work and it almost killed me physically. I mean, I got sick before. I'm not going to say it did. That led into it. So I've really struggled to stay alive. Now I want to know why.
So you can help other people stay alive. Isn't that fair?
Do we want to stay
Yes,
alive? Let's think about this. I'm not
of course.
suggesting, but you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, kumbaya. I'm glad you all get a better night's sleep because of my suffering. But when does my suffering get a better night's sleep because of somebody else's suffering? Or
Amen.
whatever.
Amen.
I'm going to
So I
mute
want to just,
myself. Otherwise, I'm going to keep interjecting. I'm sorry.
I don't feel that it's an interjection. Y'all see how it's important for me. I literally create a lag space, after and before you speak. This is our safe space. So I just want to summarize the things that our discoveries in our conversation currently. So we were speaking of shifting the self-identity as an empath. You can see kind of like the residual anger that comes off of coming out of empathy and towards more self-solidarity. We're like, what the fuck was that?
Right.
Why was I so empathic? And what is empathy? I love how we're unpacking what is love outside of capitalism, what is love when it's not manipulation, and I love how we're really identifying the utility, or scratch that, identifying the freedom of a woman, how self-agency, how spirituality is all connected in this new world conversation of releasing ourselves from narcissistic abuse is the same as leaning into our feminine energies in whatever relative expressions we are in, even me as a man. I want to ask a prompted question for all of us. What would you like the world to know has been either disrespected or dishonored of you or overlooked? What would you like the world to know has angered you? Can we release any anger or release any, let's say, intensities around the identity in community?
I'll tell you the first thing that came to my mind was Malcolm X, the most disrespected person in America is a black woman. Just
Big choice.
the existence. I'm constantly looked at as like a sex object. I'm constantly belittled of my knowledge. I'm treated as a convicted felon. I have no record. Like there's always negative intentions with just my identity. So that is just a constant battle and war. I feel like I never asked for, but always finds me. And I have to present myself in a certain character just to be seen, not even respected, just to be seen as a person. And sometimes I just want to say, fuck this mask and fuck you. Like that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
But
Speaking of
I've found
masculine
so much.
energy, right?
I'm very comfortable in my masculine energy, but what I've noticed in these last recent years is how powerful my presence is as a Black woman. So just removing my presence and just being observant of how other things just completely have a tower moment without my presence, it just reassures that my energy is more than sufficient. It's just people's projections.
It's awesome.
So, on the other side of people's projections, who is Monique at her core?
Who am I? I'm a nurturer. I I care more than I like to admit.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking of others before myself. And this is the first time with this journey I've taken on with God that God said, no, I don't want you to see yourself like that anymore because you have a much bigger purpose and seeing these downloads and creating that content and organizing it. Now I just have to edit, cut it, and it's ready to be released. I'm just like, wow, God, this is the whole reason why you don't show where you don't show the journey of how you get there. You just show the end. And you're like, this is beautiful, right? It's like, yeah, this is everything I asked for. This is great. But then you get on the journey, it's like, whoa, if I knew I had to deal with anything on this journey because of people, it's not really me, I would have never taken it. Um, so I do feel like I get the short end of the stick a lot because of who I am on the outside. On the inside, I always want to give more than I receive all the
Amen. May you be able to receive the love that you give by navigating outside of people's projections. I love this conversation of finally being able to kind of like see your true wealth, which is your presence and your absence, and to see your true power, which is outside of other people's inadequacies or inabilities. You are deserving of gentleness, beautiful Black woman. You are deserving of protection. My protection will always be with you, Monique. You are protection, you are worthy and deserving of sight. All right? We can always have this conversation publicly or privately. There's nothing to be ashamed about who you are. And you are allowed to be a woman outside of other people's projection of that womanhood. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that anyone else wants the world to know? What has been overlooked about you or what has angered you?
I've been looked at as being like a lot less of what I am all the time. I'm short. I've been blonde, just a little blonde thing my whole life. And especially around men. And especially having chosen a career to begin with around large wild animals. Nobody took me seriously with that. Nobody did. And that's where my soul is. And nobody has ever seen me as someone who sees the animals. I see them, I understand them, and the very handsome. um, but nobody ever even gave me a chance when I had a deep connection with these animals. I could handle them. And whenever I was given a chance and did well, everyone just kind of blew it off as like, well, I got lucky or something like that. So even when I was in school and learning, uh, and when I was the only one specializing in it, I was not giving those opportunities. Like we were all given the opportunity to go on, or what am I thinking of? We were all given the opportunity to do special projects on the side and go to other facilities to do what we were more inclined to do, what we were more focused on. And there was only one project with big cats that a person could go to. They chose somebody else to do it, somebody who was never going to go that direction. I was the only one in the class of like 25 people. I was a good student. I was an A student. I was great with everything I did. I excelled at everything. There was no reason not to send me. That I was short and I was cute and I don't know what else. But I've just never been taken seriously. The only time I was taken seriously in my life was when I lost a bunch of weight and I was pretty.
Mhm.
That's when I was taken seriously. But even then, who would have put me in front of, a bunch of wild animals? And I've speculated is that because they were afraid I'd show them up? Because that was not a job that women did back in the 80s and the 90s. Men, I think, had a lot to lose if someone like me, half their size and twice their intelligence, no offense, but I mean, these weren't smart guys necessarily doing these jobs. Not that there were a lot of them, but working with big cats was just didn't have people like me, in them. So, but I was just very frustrated not to ever be given a chance and not even with an explanation why. So, and it's not just even in that, it's just that I've always been, and maybe it's the neurodivergent thing. Maybe I just don't come off as someone that people want to have around in certain situations. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've had a lot of trouble being taken seriously, which is maybe why I let more of the lion part of me flow now. There's something inside that just doesn't give a fuck what people think anymore. I'm just going to do what I do and be who I am. And you can see my hair's all wild and I don't really care. Just like I said, I just woke up and I could have done something to it, but I realized, oh God, I need to be over here now. And
Your
that
hair
was
is
more important.
beautiful, by the way.
So thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. So yeah, I'm used to not being taken seriously, just in general. I don't know. Too short, too fat. I don't know.
Well,
Just not someone.
another example of us kind of like having to recollect ourselves on the other side of other people's projections, similar to
Mhm.
Monique.
Mhm.
If we can say, if you can hold this truth that you are safe to be who you truly are with us here, can you share with us who are you on the other side of projections?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm someone that has a lot to offer. I do. When I feel safe, I have a lot to offer. It takes a long time for me to get there, you know.
To feel safe.
Um, thank you. And you guys are safe with me. So yeah, I have a lot to give and I have a lot to share. Um, and but beyond that, I love to share what I know, what I have learned I that's who I am. And
hear you.
just with love, I try to help keeping people informed. I'm your encyclopedia if you guys want to know anything about anything.
Nice. But it sounds like you do care a lot.
I do. I do. You know, I didn't learn all this stuff in life for nothing. It's not just for me.
Right. I'm so happy to see you today, Brooke.
Thank
Truly.
you. I'm happy to be here.
Amen. Does any of the community have any words for Brooke or any reflections?
I think I share that totally, where you are very sincere and you mean it, and um, other people sometimes just say what is good at the time, but don't really follow through. And I
Right.
I get that. I get that a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to encourage us to remember that within SSE, we're kind of like all here around the same point, which is self-empowerment, maybe spiritual ascension, freedom of the voice and choice, freedom of mind, empowerment of the individual identity. And so I don't want anyone to feel as if you can be abandoned in this space, is why I was referencing that. This is not a space that you can be abandoned because this is for your soul. And so I'm happy, Brooke, that you can come around a bunch of people just like yourself, and you can trust that there will be at least one person here
Thank you.
that's
That's
keeping
good
the
to know.
conversation. Yes, yes.
And you can trust me too.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
We're
Fuck
going to
Brandon.
continue to have fun, okay? We're going to continue to be our authentic selves and hold each other gently when we want to shout and scream and cry and cuss. And then we're going to recollect ourselves back into a moment of groundedness and come back together again. Alrighty, y'all. Love to everybody, and y'all have a beautiful Sunday.
Bye, everyone.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Love to everybody. Bye.
Love to all.
Cheers and cheers.